Hey, welcome to the Mashcast episode 22. This is our Mashcast Awards episode for 2020. This is 2021, and I know I just threw a whole bunch of 20 numbers around at you, but again, episode 22. Charlie, how are you today?
Feel like I got better than 2020 vision.
Oh, wow. A good 30-30, 50-50?
Infinite.
Infinite. Nice, nice. So, Charlie, you put together a presentation for this episode for us to kind of. Actually, I don't know what the hell you have planned for this.
You could call it that. Yeah, that's why I was hoping we'd get a bigger group together. But, this is something that I looked back on the podcasts that we've done throughout the year, not
Okay.
all that other just games or whatever awards, but just specific to us, I
Oh, no. Did
suppose.
you rewatch episodes?
No,
Okay.
just what came off the top of my head.
Okay.
So I guess without further ado, the Mashcast awards
Oh, all
for
right.
2020, and you can intersperse this with other stuff. I,
Okay.
I took a lot of liberties with this list,
Okay.
so if there's something you feel like you need to add on,
All right.
feel
Sure.
free to do so. So first award, best sporting event of the year.
Right. Okay.
You might be wondering what that would even be.
In relation to us? Okay.
Exactly.
Sure. All right.
So the nominee is the Super Bowl sponsored by Bill.
Did that happen this year?
I did because it was all the way back in February or maybe the end of January. I don't even know.
And we went to Billy's? Man, wow. What a year.
Exactly.
Oh, my gosh.
And that's
Okay.
the only nominee. So congrats. Congrats, Bill. You'll receive your award in the post.
Uh-oh. Might be late then.
Well, it's already next year anyway, so
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I
it's
keep forgetting it's
meaningless.
already 2021 and not
Mhm.
2020.1.
Well, you know what else is next? We got
Uh-oh.
hottest e game of
Uh-oh.
2020.
An E game as opposed to an A
Clearly,
game,
not
I
not, a,
suppose.
not an not even an esports game, just the e game.
Right. Okay.
So, of course, we're up to date on all the hottest trends.
Uh-huh.
So,
I was gonna say
I'm sure everyone's going to care about our input on this.
Age of Calamity,
Oh,
because
okay.
of
Well,
Urbosa, but
see that's not an e. Okay, let me clarify. An e game
right.
is just what's hot on the streaming platforms.
Okay.
So you've got your Fall Guys,
Right. Okay.
Among Us, or according to Bill's world, StarCraft 3.
Okay. But were these games that we played on stream?
These are
Oh, just
purposeful
things that.
games none of us really
Oh,
play.
okay. Yeah. Hey, I am thinking about getting Among Us on Switch though. I think that'd be a good game
Okay.
to keep around on Switch.
Is that cross-platform?
Hmm.
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's cross-platform across everything.
Okay. So is that your pick for hottest e-game?
I mean, I did play Fall Guys a little bit. I more watched Ashley play it than anything else. She like got max level in that first season. So I'm gonna.
Does she feel like an e-gamer now that she's played it?
No, she's. I mean, I guess she's kind of gotten tired of it.
Oh, okay. So doesn't make her want to become a streamer. Is what I'm getting at.
No. I was the one who picked streaming up this year. I've
Exactly.
nominated Fall
Okay.
Guys.
Okay. All right. I
Yeah.
would probably say Among Us.
I'm
I
not
know
even
Bill's gonna go
sure.
with StarCraft, so it
Have
was
you
kind of a split vote.
have you watched any Among Us gameplay? I have not. I
I
have no
have.
idea how that game works. I d-
It's just like I don't know. There's a bunch of games like it. You're
yeah.
just an imposter is one person, and the rest of the people are crew members. You're trying to kill everyone if you're the imposter, or if you're a crew member, you're trying to figure out who the imposter is, and just doing little mini game stuff in between.
Yeah, I've got like the a general idea, but like how the game actually functions from step to step.
It doesn't matter for hottest game. It
All
just
right.
matters
Yeah.
what.
Okay. You know what? If you say Among Us, I'll back you up because I haven't seen anything about it, so it must be good.
Dang.
I'll change my
Okay.
answer.
That's some good criteria right
Yeah.
there. All right. Well, moving on.
Okay.
Best 2020 movie seen
All
in
right. So
theaters.
now on this one,
Now, I was on this one. I'm assuming Bill did not end up seeing Monster Hunter.
oh
Uh,
yeah, probably not.
did Did you see anything in
I
theaters
did
this year?
not, Charlie. So I have to defer to
Okay.
you and
Okay.
Billy
Well,
on.
then we got a comprehensive list here
Yeah, I
of
think
Sonic
yeah.
the Hedgehog,
Uh-huh.
and congrats,
Yeah.
Sonic! You are the best movie in theaters
Yeah.
of 2020.
I figured this would be it. Yeah, I mean, what can you say? We thought when they first showed the trailer for this movie, none of us thought that we would be here today saying that it was the best movie seen in theaters in 2020.
I sure didn't.
Uh,
Impressive.
I
Congrats, Jim Carrey.
yeah,
You're relevant again.
I do actually really really like that movie, but yeah,
All right, all right. Well, good luck, Sega, on
I I
future Sonic movies.
I
I guess this
wonder
is going to be a series now. I don't.
I wonder what it will be. What will our top movie for 2021 seen in theaters be? What do you think?
If you want to talk about movies now, since I don't really have any other movie categories, I mean, on my books, Fast Nine is coming up
Yeah.
next year, this year, whatever. What is time? Um, there's a prequel movie, The Saints of Newark, to The Sopranos
Oh
that I've
yeah,
been
yeah,
interested in.
yeah.
No clue if
But are
that's
you
going to be
gonna
good, but
are you gonna see that in theaters or HBO Max?
so that's the question.
Because I was watching the new Todd and Aaron video last night, and I was watching it on my PlayStation, so I don't have ad block. So it ran an ad for a movie trailer, and I was like, you know what? I'll just sit and watch this trailer because I like trailers. And it was Denzel Washington and the guy from Mr. Robot, the guy who played Freddie Mercury in Mr. Robot,
Okay.
and
I know who you're talking about. I don't
yeah,
know his name. Yeah.
and he was in that Until Dawn game. Anyways, the trailer looked really interesting, and I was like, man, that seems cool. I wonder, I'll probably never see it. And then it said HBO Max, baby, and I was like, HBO Max is going
They
to
get
get me
you.
to watch more movies, probably be having that direct access. So just you know what, just shouts out HBO Max, killer service. Did you watch Wonder Woman 1984?
I did not. I still need to see
Okay.
the first one.
Here's my
So,
quick review of Wonder Woman 1984. The visual effects are trash. The action directing is also trash. It has a clever ending. I walked out of that movie still liking it, but the more I think back on it, the more quickly I'm souring on it. So that's my official review of Wonder Woman 1984.
okay.
Don't ask me about it ever again, and maybe I will continue to think positively on it. But the more I have to talk about it, the more I dislike it.
What do you think your best movie of 2020 was?
Oh, Tenet. Yeah,
Okay.
I have now watched it twice. I watched it. We quarantined for 10 days, which is the new CDC recommendation, so that we could go see my in-laws, and we stayed over there for 3 nights. And I rewatched it again with my father-in-law, and being able to watch that a second time, knowing how everything operates, and you could be like, Tenet spoilers. When you get to halfway through that movie, you're really at the end of that movie chronologically, and it's just like when you get to that point where they go back through the turnstile, you're like, oh yeah, this is as far as the movie goes. So, I mean, I guess not technically until the end. You do go a little past that in the epilogue, but
There's a epilogue. Yeah.
and I do like Tenet. I respect it for just kind of throwing the human element out the window and just being like, let's just explore the sci-fi concept and like not worry about necessarily developing our characters or having touchstones for the audience. And I understand that that's something people like in movies. I like that in movies, but I don't necessarily miss it in this one because I think the sci-fi was so cool. But
I wish they spent a little more time explaining it, to be honest.
yeah, the thing that
Like
gets me
how those
the
turnstiles work and all that stuff.
oh, so you want like direct, you want like the part
I
in
mean,
Interstellar where they talk about how gravity affects time and
maybe not. I guess similar-ish to that.
yeah,
If they're not going to do character development, then I want world development more.
yeah.
Like how they got to that point.
How do you feel about the theory that Max is Neil, the little kid being Robert
Yeah,
Pattinson?
yeah,
I don't buy it. Um,
yeah. I don't know about that.
there's two big reasons. The first being I don't think the movie gains anything from him being Neil. Like there are no moments between, and I noticed this on my I was watching for this on my second watch through. Sorry for the elongated Tenet review, but you're the only person who's seen it, so I want to talk to you about it. But the movie gains nothing from that. There's no moments that are kind of like, oh yeah, when Neil and Kat briefly talk to each other. There's nothing there that you would gain from him being Max and knowing that. And also just the idea that for him to be Max, the way that time travel works in this is, uh, what would you call that? Where it's like,
Wouldn't you have to be wearing that mask all the time to get oxygen
and you would have
properly?
to be doing that for about like 10, 15 years or 10-ish
Yeah,
years because you would have had to have gone to a point, his end point, and then spent that entire time going back to when he was 10 years old. And so if he's supposed to be recruited by the protagonist at some point, assuming in his future, in his forward time, that means he gets recruited when he's like 17-ish, maybe 20,
yeah.
and
It
then
seems like a bit of a stretch.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I think it's a cool like, oh, ha ha ha, yeah, Maximilian, the backwards is Neil, but I think if you think about it even the slightest amount, it falls apart as a theory to me anyways.
yeah. I mean, if people want to believe that, I guess that's cool. I don't really think it adds anything either.
Yeah.
Um, I enjoyed the movie for what it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
not my favorite though.
Yeah. It's no
To be honest,
Interstellar.
yeah, I guess. Or I still think Inception's his best one. Well, no, probably Prestige.
Prestige is
Probably
good.
Prestige.
Inception gets worse
But
every time I watch it.
yeah. Um, but I would say overall, this was a weaker year for movies for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff got pushed back, but my favorite, uh, not, I don't even want to say my favorite. I have two things. My favorite would be what I watched last night, which was I don't even remember how to say it. Digimon
Last
Evolution
Evolution
Last
Kizuna. Yeah.
whatever.
Dude,
Yes, okay.
did you cry? I cried. I
Uh,
cried. So
I,
don't.
I got missed the at the end there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
cried when Agumon. It's okay. Spoilers for Kizuna. I cried at the end when Agumon, and I'm almost getting teared up thinking about it. Agumon Gabumon ask Ty and Matt like, "What are you going to do tomorrow?" Like, and oh man,
Mhm.
because it made me think of Ellie, and like she's got a finite lifespan in relation to me, and thinking of
She's
Agumon and
gonna live
Gabumon that
forever.
way.
Don't worry about it.
I'm she's gonna have tubes coming out of her and robot hip, and yeah, that's the plan. Hey, speaking of, she's being
Yeah,
bad right
I
now.
really. It's not the best movie. It's a lot of weird structural stuff. I don't like how they just basically did a redo of the Try series, and they kind of did Sora dirty as a character,
Yeah, she's like
in my
barely in it.
opinion.
Yeah, or am I
Well,
thinking of
it's not just
Mimi?
that she's barely, Mimi's barely in it too, but
Yeah,
Sora basically, they've been putting on this air that she's the becoming the more sensitive, mature one that doesn't want to deal with any of the fighting anymore. So she just stays out of it.
Yeah.
And there was a tease towards the final battle that Bioman had already died before that final battle. So
Hmm.
she was the first to lose it of the group. I don't know. I think they're just kind of lame. Like she's supposed to be representative of heart, but she can't bother enough to help out the rest of her crew. That just, I don't know. That doesn't. You don't have to fight. Just at least go to the place.
Yeah.
It seemed like cop out to me, but just the symbolism they did with the main villain being a butterfly and how that ties into
The
the
song.
main theme
Yeah.
of the series, just yeah, it
There
really got me.
there was a lot of great musical callbacks, like not just the butterfly, but like the bolero song from the first movie, and
Mhm.
then the
Also had Willis and uh, as a background when they
mhm.
were showing all the kids who got captured. There were a lot of references like that.
And when they get to the 02 kids, they start playing like this kind of soft, calm version of Fire. Was that the opening song for part two?
Uh,
Because season
I
three,
want to say
yeah,
yes.
Tamers was Biggest Dreamer, and then I think Frontier was Target. So I think 02 was Fire. I used to be a
Yeah.
big Digimon head back in the day. And as someone who never watched Try, I really appreciated this movie kind of ignoring it, with the very exception of them name dropping, I guess, the girl from Try.
Yeah. Well, they actually show her towards
Yeah.
that end montage, but yeah, it wasn't really relevant, but apparently it's still in universe, which makes even less sense when you think about it because spoilers, Try basically does the same thing
Mm.
where they lose their Digimon and they all get reborn.
Hmm.
That one actually probably has a sadder moment if you're looking for something to cry about.
Isn't there something with Patamon that's really sad?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
basically like putting down a rabid dog
yeah.
kind of thing.
Old Yeller.
Yeah.
Did you feel
Um,
that Kizuna is spoiled by the epilogue of 02?
no,
Because
not
like
really,
we
because
know
it's
Tai
there's
becomes,
so much time in between that, you know.
yeah, Tai becomes like a UN ambassador with Yagumon or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's fine how it is. Um, yeah, it makes me want to check out that series that I still haven't watched yet for the reboot. So
It's very so I watched a little bit of it. The first 3 episodes are like they go hardcore on the animation, right? The I think the director said he wanted to make it his version of Our War Story, and
yeah.
so it's like crazy, man. They hit Omegamon, Omnimon in the 3rd episode. So wrap
Hmm.
your mind around that.
Okay.
Omnimon happens in the 3rd episode, anyway. But then episode 4 was when the pandemic hit, and the show really becomes like a PowerPoint slideshow, which in a way is kind of a throwback
It's
to
like
the
I like
original.
yeah, I
so
was gonna say.
so and the kids all have different voices. All the Digimon are the same voices that they have been, but
That was the one other thing I was gonna say about the movie was it was I watched the dub and it was nice hearing most of the original cast, but a couple absent voices felt weird.
yeah, I was glad that they recast Matt because that's a big part of why if I ever watch Try, I don't want to watch it dubbed
Yeah,
because I
I
can't
didn't.
can't
I
stand it.
watched the sub. Yeah. Um,
Do you know why Davis had a different actor?
I do not.
So they recorded most of Kizuna during the pandemic for the dub. And when it came around to, he was cast to do it, but then something went wrong with his home studio and they couldn't wait around for him, so they had to recast it.
That sucks.
Yeah, it does. So I would imagine that maybe if there's ever a sequel, he'll come back. But yeah,
Well, that was my favorite, but I'd probably say the best movie I saw this year, if you're talking objectively, was Soul from Disney.
I'm watching that tonight.
Okay,
I
that's
watched
it's a good one.
I watched the trailer last night and almost cried just from the trailer alone. So,
Well, it's
oops.
not
Yeah.
what I expected,
Yeah.
is what I'll say. It's very, I guess, did the trailer you see just kind of have like him just falling down a manhole, and then it shows like the little fuzzy guy at the end?
It
Is
went
that
a
the
little
trailer you
bit
watched?
more to that. I think that was this
Okay.
probably maybe gave away too much. It's about him and
Okay. See, go ahead.
he ends up in the before, the great before or something, and then
Okay.
he's like, all right,
Man, yeah,
hey,
that
yeah.
tracks.
And then he's like, okay, let's go back to the living world. And then there are these two Picasso sketches chasing him. Or something. So that's about all I know.
That design was so weird. I really appreciated how weird they went with that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's kind of a bummer because the trailer I saw, it just sort of ended with showing him falling down a manhole and turning into his other fuzzy soul form,
Yeah.
which I think really let me not have any expectations for where the movie was going to go. So it was uh, really appreciated to see where they took it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, I really liked it for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, guess done with movies. Next, speed run
Uh-oh. Okay.
moment
All
of the
right.
year.
Mm-hmm.
Some heavy stuff this year. This is just from us personally, though. I'm not gonna talk about all the Zelda records that were broken or
Yeah.
whatever because that game's a
Right.
hot mess of code. But got
Uh-huh.
I finally broke a 4 year standing Crazy Taxi 2 record. I'm now a triple threat in world record holder
Dude, that's
for
pretty
that
good.
category.
That's pretty good. But I feel like we
It's
might have some other contenders on here, Charlie. If I'm
you know. Also, I
uh-huh.
started my first VR speedrun this year. This is probably the only place I'm going to talk about this game because it's just okay, but it's basically what I would describe as the best web slinging game of the year
Okay.
because it's basically like a Spider-Man esque game in terms
Jupiter
of
cred.
movement.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a Russian esque space game where you're in a space station, but you got plungers to help you move around like you're web slinging. Feels incredible
Now,
in terms of movement.
will you be streaming this, or are you trying to keep all your secret tech?
Uh, I probably won't stream it for a while because the developers said they're working on a time trial mode with
Okay.
DLC, so I'll just wait for that.
Are you
Honestly,
have you been communicating with them about it, or like, hey, I'm speedrunning your game,
not really.
maybe, you might maybe you should. You could end up in the credits or something.
I've I've done that before.
Yeah. Which game are you in the credits on?
Bound.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, it's just my handle Chickles825, but
Yeah. But still, that's pretty cool.
pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I gotta give them shout outs for that.
When are they going to put you in the credits on Crazy Taxi?
Eventually. All right, then last one. Speaking of Bound, GDQ this SGDQ from this year finally
Uh-huh.
brought back the bonus stream. It's not quite the bonus stream. It's just sort of like continuing they're starting to do more daily content now.
Mm-hmm.
But this was dubbed as a bonus stream, so I felt good being able to go back in some respect to a GDQ. And I think we know the actual winner though
Mm-hmm.
is
I
going to
think we do.
be
Yeah.
performing Kenny's first BLJ and finally joining the speedrun community.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
How's it feel to
Uh,
be the winner of this prestigious category?
it feels so good, Charlie, that I almost forgot I played that game this year.
That's what these awards are all about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it takes a lot to learn a trick. I got to really feel the pit of despair that speedrunners feel when they're trying to learn a trick for the first time. It made me reflect on what it means to be a hero, Charlie. From you know.
Okay. I don't know if I feel despair learning new tricks, but it's an interesting take.
Mm.
Okay. Do you think you'll ever continue your speedrunning career, or are you a one and done?
Well, so I've been watching a stream of Metal Gear Solid 3, which any given day could be my favorite game of all time or my second most favorite game of all time. But watching it makes me want to get back into playing that and then maybe learning how to speedrun it. Because
Okay.
the things are so goofy in MGS3 with the way that the AI is that you can do a lot of crazy tricks if you're just like in the right spot at the right time.
Mhm.
So, if not a speed run, it'll be like a cool trick run. But maybe. We'll see. So it's a big commitment.
It is. All right. Well, congratulations on our first winner to actually accept his award.
Yes.
So next up, speaking of Kenny, you got
Oh.
the most heated moment of 2020.
Is this the thing I had to edit out of that one episode?
No, no,
Dude,
you
freaking
play
Super
through it.
Mario Sunshine. Super Mario Sunshine is the opposite of Wonder Woman 1984, where the more I
Whoa.
think back on it, the more I think I remember the fond moments of that game and not the 45 minutes I spent in that Chuckster level trying to get the angle just so, yeah.
That's the only nominee I had. You got anything else?
You know what
I
though?
think might top that.
I enjoyed Super Mario Sunshine more than I enjoyed Super Mario Galaxy replaying it.
Interesting.
I beat Super Mario Sunshine. I beat Super Mario 64. I haven't 120 starred Super Mario 64 yet, but that's on my to-do list. But anyways, Super Mario Galaxy is an absolutely boring game to be included in the same collection as Super Mario 64 and Super Mario Sunshine. They're not even like the same kind of games. And I think that if you're going to do, maybe this collection should have just been $40 and just 64 and Sunshine. But I think Nintendo knows people love Galaxy so much that you would have had to have done that. But really, it should have been Galaxy and Galaxy 2 being their own collection because,
I agree. That would make more sense.
yeah, it's like 64, Sunshine, and Odyssey are the trilogy. Galaxy and Galaxy 2 are their own thing.
Yeah. What can you do? I honestly haven't played Galaxy since it came out, but it very much felt like kind of like Uncharted 2, where it's like an experience. You're just going through a bunch of set pieces with the new planet gimmicks that they got.
Yeah.
And not to say that it's bad, it's just, yeah, kind of like you said, it's kind of boring if you want to go back through it, I imagine.
It was giving me motion sickness, and then to have to go back to being forced to use motion controls because you do have to use them at certain points. It's like I've lost those wrist muscles for that, because games got better and we stopped forcing that kind of gameplay element in. So I think Galaxy, a lot of people will disagree with me on this, and I think, hey, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but I just think the game, killer soundtrack, the game's beautiful. I honestly never want to play it again.
I mean, I think 64 is the clear
Yeah, 100%.
superior game of the three.
I think,
Uh,
Charlie, not just is it the superior of the three, but playing it again reminded me that it's probably in my top 5 favorite games of all time. I think it holds up that well. Once you get
okay.
used to the camera, because we've talked about this before, the camera in that, this was before, we had free control over a camera. And so the camera in that game wants you to do where it's directing you a certain way, right? But we're so used to having full control over a camera. And so once you throw that out the window and you just trust N64's camera, not
Hey,
all the
you
time.
still
But
have you still have control over it. It's just a
Yeah,
different method of
yeah,
having to switch into the Mario Cam or be a little more precise with it. But yes, it's more specific
yeah,
on how it expects you to go through the world.
but yeah. Uh, I probably had some other heated moments, particularly on this podcast, uh, that may have gotten cut out of some episodes. But
I wasn't sure if I was going to put them up or not.
yeah, no, yeah, you could have just put up all the times stuff got cut out. But yeah, Super Mario Sunshine was something else. But I don't remember all the bad parts of that game. I remember the good parts.
All right. Well, too bad we're not talking about good parts next. Oh, that was not the category I wanted to switch
Uh
with.
oh. All
Okay.
right.
Well, we're doing this instead.
Okay.
So, best Sujimon. We have two people here who I finished Yakuza earlier this week.
Okay. Nice. Perfect.
So we both have experience with this game.
Yeah.
And you guys didn't play Bug Snacks. That's what this category was actually
Okay.
going to be. But to have an actual discussion, this is now sponsored by Bug Snacks instead.
Okay. All right.
So, what I threw up a list here. I don't even know if you're going to be able to see it because there's a lot. But
Okay.
the framing of this was anything in the Sujidex that's not from a sub story or main NPC.
Okay.
So nothing like
No
any of
bosses.
the
No.
none of the bosses, none of the like
Not the
Catherine
guy.
the Bear or kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Or the guy who loves pain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He
Okay.
would be up there if he was included in
Yeah.
this. But I
Okay.
figured if you're including everything, it kind of just makes it too easy.
Yeah.
So this is all. Oh God, there's too many here. I'm not even going to
So
talk
many
about all of them.
Yakuza.
I'm just gonna
Uh huh.
I'm gonna let you suss it out. I have brief descriptions of them written down here if you want more info on what they are, because I don't even remember some of these, and I wrote them down.
So I think in terms of the name alone, Charlie,
They're,
I think Twitchy streamer, I think tops them all.
okay. That's
Now,
definitely so. I will say, in terms of criteria for doing this, name was a significant factor.
yeah. Now, as far as how they looked, I really liked the otaku at arms and the different
Okay.
variants thereof. I think those guys are super silly. You probably see people like that in Japan. I wouldn't be so surprised if that was the
We
least
see people like that here.
exaggeration. Yeah, we do. Yeah, go to any convention. Um, so I'm gonna vote otaku at arms.
Okay. My front runner is probably the Dark Sweeper, who is like the would you say the most advanced version of those pesticide guys. He's
Okay, yeah.
basically, uh, according to his description, a transcendental custodian
Mhm.
who has realized humanity is the true filth and purge them at all costs.
Okay, so he's like a dark universe version of the janitor from Scrubs.
Exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
But all of these are great. Honestly, as someone who juggles, I really love the concept of struggler and juggalo.
Yeah.
Juggalo is basically an insane clown posse version, souped up.
This
Yeah.
I
Really, really tough category,
yeah.
honestly.
And this goes down this comes down to the great localization of this game too, in the way that all the different names they're so memorable. Um yeah, it's Captain Cruncher, he's the big guy, right? The big like
He,
a sailor type guy. Yeah.
yes, his description says he could take down a shark in one blow.
Wow. New aged hippie though. Um I really wish that was a reference to Earthbound, but I don't think it is. I think it's just
I
New
think it's
Age
just
hippie.
generic musician, yeah.
Yeah.
But I also appreciate Yakuza has a history with wrestling. I appreciate all the wrestler
Yeah.
names they threw it in here. Undertaker.
Do you know how deep the connection to wrestling goes?
I've heard of stuff in the earlier series, but I don't really know.
Yeah, so some of the most popular Japanese wrestlers are in Yakuza 6, and there's side stories involving them, and you can recruit them for this team you have for like the side quest stuff, and they all have their catchphrases. It's pretty cool.
Okay, well, all right.
I really look
Congrats.
forward to having a congrats to
All the winners.
oh
I
yeah.
don't even know. We didn't decide on one because there's too many good ones.
I do really look forward to having a longer discussion about Yakuza with you and Billy at some point, because I really want to see how you felt, particularly about the latter third of that game, not having a lot of context for elements that were being brought in.
I'd say I have a take for sure.
Yeah. So
Okay. All right. Moving on.
okay.
Worst gaming news of the year.
Oh, okay. I thought that was going to be a list of all the terrible
No,
stuff.
no. I mean, there's a pretty big list here, but not that bad.
Yeah.
Uh,
Can I not? Can I
keep it.
nominate something without seeing it yet?
I'm sure
Okay, I'm
whatever
sure
you
it's
say
going to
is
be on.
probably on here.
Well, then let's just go. We'll go through your list then.
Okay. So I've tried to keep these awards as positive as possible, but
Right.
gotta have something. There was a lot of bad shit this year, so I just want to
Yeah.
concentrate that down into one specific topic and
Okay,
get
for
that.
sure. Yeah.
So we got the handling of the next gen console announcements.
Okay.
That mess of marketing chicken between PlayStation and Xbox.
Yeah.
Ubisoft.
This was it. This was it.
What
For me.
even happened?
Yeah.
I don't even have to get into specifics because there's too much for it to put up everything on the list.
Yeah.
Last of Us 2 review bombing and employee crunch and all the social media harassment surrounding that game.
So I think that Last of Us 2, we talked about the Metacritic bombing, but I think that was good in the end because it changed how Metacritic worked. Even though we all kind of discussed how Metacritic is really doesn't matter because of the people who are probably reading Metacritic. I think it's different. Your grandma maybe knows what Rotten Tomatoes is, but I doubt she knows what Metacritic is. So it's...
You say that, but it almost mattered to Cyberpunk.
Yeah. 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 But that's their own fault.
But okay. Epic versus Apple.
This
I
was
don't know
great.
if that's necessarily bad because we haven't
Yeah.
seen the conclusion yet, but
I
it's a
think
big one for
Yeah,
sure.
I think we talked about this. This was a story I hated at first, but then as it kept going on, it kept getting more interesting, and I kept enjoying seeing Epic just get owned. So yeah, that was a great story, honestly. I think so. I don't think that can win this category.
All right. Well, downfall of Evo,
So
at least for this year.
Yeah, this is the saddest, one of the sadder ones. I don't know if it's on your list, but it's also, like the same kind of thing with MagFest. These things just falling apart, the people who are running them making strange decisions, and
It's true.
lots of people being exposed. So,
Yeah. I have a feeling those will at least come back, though. Even Evo under new management. It's just a question of will it be next year? By the next time Evo is ready, will we be ready for that? I don't know.
I don't think
It's
so.
a bit up in the air.
I don't want to get so I've been following the vaccine distribution stuff, and I don't want to get too real world here, but it's not going well, Charlie. If you've I don't know if you've heard.
No, I don't know. I mean, I'm not really expecting. That's a whole other thing.
I think
So I've read about it.
everyone who's expecting 2021 to be markedly better, even by the end of the year, I think needs to readjust their expectations. So no, Evo's not coming back this year, and there certainly won't be playing Melee.
At least not in person. Yeah.
All right. What we got?
Well,
What's the? Yeah.
that's a little foreshadowing to the end of this list, but that is also on here. But next, just trying to buy a next gen device.
Yeah.
You haven't had to deal with this yet, Kenny, but you might be feeling it soon.
I'm dealing with it now, Charlie. I have
Okay.
decided I am going to buy a PlayStation 5. Uh, um, so yes, I'm in the market
It's
now.
it's a complete mess. I don't know why, other than just pure greed and laziness, that companies can't set up a ticket or a lottery system where you can just get a place in line ahead of time once more orders have come in. Instead, they're just letting everyone assume that a CAPTCHA or a web page login is good enough to prevent bots from scalping up all the inventory. It's
Hmm.
kind of a mess. And just the fact that requiring online to be the only way to purchase a product means that you're competing not just with all the people locally to you, but nationally. Someone might try to buy it from some other city and have it shipped to them. It's
Well, and Charlie, I'll go ahead and tell you right now.
a
The
mess.
reason I'm going to get a PlayStation 5 is because of the latest stimulus that's been going out, which is $600 for those who are receiving it, which is just enough to cover a PS5 plus tax. So I think not only I feel like a lot of other people now are like, "Hey, great, this is a perfect amount to buy a PlayStation 5." So I think it's about to get even harder to try to get one.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I would think there are plenty of other things people might want to use that for, but you're right.
Yeah, I'm well.
What they might actually end
Yes,
up using it
yeah,
for. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, but yes, this was frankly for me a mess and a complete fluke that I even managed to get one.
Hmm.
So hopefully it gets better, but it's not looking like it.
No.
You already mentioned it, but Nintendo's stance on Melee has been pretty aggressive this year.
I have. Did we talk about this on the show, or did we have we already
I
switched
think
format by that time?
that kind of happens in between our breaks. I
Okay.
think.
I have a kind of controversial view on this. I'm not.
Oh boy.
Well, okay. So, right, the way Nintendo behaves is not a surprise. Okay. I mean, whether you agree with what they're doing or not, the idea that the big show was that the name of it? The tournament?
Um,
It was something like that.
I'm not sure
The
to
the
be
big
honest, but they've
show,
they've canceled a couple tournaments
but like the big one that
essentially.
that got people fired up, saying I'll never buy a Nintendo product ever again, was I think it's called the Big Show, but it was a big tournament. But they were doing the whole thing online, for obvious reasons, and they thought that, again, we've known Nintendo for a long time. This is no secret how Nintendo behaves. But they thought that they could get away with having a tournament using Melee ROMs, and not just Melee ROMs, but a third party kind of mod add on that allows online play. So I think, again, whether or not you agree with what Nintendo's doing, I think it's beyond ridiculous that they thought they could get away with it. Especially with it being a paid event where there's money involved. So I think, for
But
me,
Nintendo's never really helped with pots at
true.
all.
Yes, true. I agree. I just think that, how do I put this in the nicest way possible that's going to get me the least amount of hate? Because I understand I'm coming at this from an where I exist on this is not where everyone else is. But I just wonder, where did they think they could get off doing this and have any other outcome than what happened?
Well, I guess it's just sort of at odds with the rest of the fighting game community
Yeah,
in
true.
terms of
Yes.
brand sponsorship.
Yeah, and
Uh,
And you look at, even back, there were tweets from like people making fan Sonic games, and the official Sega account or Sonic account would tweet at them and be like, "Hey, we're gonna hit you with the DMCA. Just kidding. Great job. Keep it up." So it's like, yeah, Nintendo is overly protective of their IP, but they are also Nintendo and not expecting what happened to happen. Expecting anything other than what happened, I think, is frankly a little irresponsible on the people who organized that event. So that's where I kind of lie on it.
I guess my stance is Melee isn't a product they're promoting or selling, and the only reason they would remove a show like that is out of uh, spite, really. I mean, there may be trademark reasons for not letting them use that kind of thing, but I feel like it's purely just, hey, we don't want people focusing on Melee so much. They should be playing and buying Ultimate because that's what we're selling in this series. I think the best method they could do is just, if they don't want to promote it or put money into it, it'll work with the community on it, fine, but just let it exist.
Yeah,
It's not competing with Ultimate. Like, maybe they think that, but it's not.
I agree with you, but I just wonder how that. We know Nintendo's not going to behave that way, so why did they think they could get away with holding this event like that?
I mean, I feel like this has been around. This online mod specifically is fairly new from this year,
yeah.
but there have been things like it for a while.
Yeah, like remember what was it? Project M for Brawl.
Yeah, exactly.
That got cease and desisted, I'm pretty sure. It's people don't put a lot of stock in what a EULA says, but or what I guess before EULAs with old GameCube games, there is basically a licensing agreement inside your instruction manual. So it's.
But does that even contain licenses related to streaming when they probably didn't even think streaming would be a thing when they made the game?
There's probably don't take anything we say.
Lawyers.
We're not lawyers, but there's probably some sort of blanket infringement of copyright type statement in there. So I just it just comes down to why didn't they ask Nintendo? Because they've worked with Nintendo before. Hasn't Nintendo sponsored this event before?
No.
No, they haven't? Oh, okay.
I don't think. So, well, maybe not this event specifically. They've done a few sponsored events before, but it's always like the most minimal of effort.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. We've been talking about this one a lot. Yeah. I don't know what else there is to say.
I think it's interesting, but
it's a shame.
But you know what?
It's not the winner, though.
At the end of the day, I think we can all agree that everyone who says they're never going to buy a Nintendo product ever again will absolutely be buying Breath of the Wild 2. So good luck with holding your ground on that. But
I don't know if the Melee community is necessarily the ones who are playing that, but maybe. But that does remind me, speaking of DMCA stuff, I didn't put on this list all the Twitch DMCA nightmare that happened this year.
Yeah.
That is definitely a bummer. And I guess Mixer is gone too, so there's even less competition for them. So that's something else to consider.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk 2077, another big mess. I actually pre-ordered this game and subsequently had it for about a week because my mailbox broke and all the mail got sent to the post office, and I had to self-isolate for a few weeks because I had a COVID scare that turned out to be negative. So I technically had this game for a couple of weeks, and in that time realized I should not play it, and I ended up returning it. So irrespective of all that, what a mess that launch was.
Yeah, I remember we were just talking, or I've been talking with people about how, man, it sure sucks that Cyberpunk had to come out on the day of the Game Awards, so it couldn't be a contender. And then to just think, hey, this is not going to be nominated for Game of the Year next year. Anywhere.
I don't know about that.
No, because the memory of it, I think that, this is not something that we're going to just forget about. Because I think this was such a massive title.
Us, yes. Yeah.
But I mean, us, right?
Yeah.
We're journalists, Charlie. And the people who vote on these things are journalists like us. So it's, I think, especially if Breath of the Wild 2 comes out in 2021, Cyberpunk will get forgotten altogether.
My only counterpoint to that is that depends on the awards show. Like, the Game Awards would be one of them, but a lot of
thing like
awards
DICE or
already include that in, or other stuff like that. I mean, I've seen this game come up on some Game of the Year awards already.
Really? Man, because it's like this
game
made history.
Yeah, but if you have a high-end PC, supposedly there's not that many issues.
Cool.
But
so you can nominate it for best PC game of the year.
Yeah, I'm not going to filter through all that. And personally, I've heard mixed things about certain systems being in place or not, on whether or not that's specific to the console versions or not. But just irregardless of the state it was launched in, a bunch of games have launched in that state before. They're the ones that have launched worse than this one, to be honest. But it's just that, I guess, because of the pandemic keeping everyone in their homes and this being so hyped for so long, that it blew up in their faces more.
I mean, I think forever this will be remembered as the game that got taken off of the PlayStation Store.
That's the biggest part of it.
That Best Buy went out and said, we will let you return this even if you have opened it. Which is absolutely not I have worked retail, electronics retail before, and you don't do that because of the DMCA, right? Because the second something's been opened, you have to assume it's been copied. So you can't return these things. So this game made history in the worst way possible. And I think that will be its legacy forever.
That note, probably. Yeah. But from my understanding, Witcher 3 had a similar rough launch, and that game's one of the most beloved on this past gen. So I think enough people will not pay attention to the news, because most people don't pay attention to the news. And eventually this game will probably end up in a state that people enjoy and not remember all this mess. But
who will be playing it now at that point? Your most...
it's sold like 15 million copies already.
Right, but these are people who...
Including the returns.
Yeah, but these are people who have the game, and as it is now, today.
Yeah.
How many people will be buying it in September next year when it's now competing as the new hotness?
I've heard a lot of people say they're waiting for the next gen update. I think you'd be surprised how many people will end up buying that. That's probably going to be one of the best-selling games ever.
So I should... Well, that's right. You can't buy CD Projekt Red stock because it's like you have to be in Sweden or something like that. So, rip.
I would say yes. Buying stock in them right now would be a good idea, probably, because it's going to go back up eventually.
So, to all our Swedish viewers, that's a hot tip.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what you come here for. Stock advice. What's your best stock of 2020, Kenny?
So GE, General Electric. They are the only stock I own. I own one share, which I got for free. Who knows? It's probably like $7 or something. I got it for free when I signed up for Robinhood.
Okay.
Is there any more? Yes. All right.
We got to get on this category.
Okay. All right.
$70 games seemingly being the new standard.
Right.
So far, it's been a bit of a mix. I've seen a lot of third parties stick with 60, but at the very least, Sony's been pretty consistent with its major first party games being 70. Mm.
Yeah, and
I wonder how that's going to play out.
I think that's okay. Strictly from the vantage point of if you just wait a few months, you'll get it at half off. I mean, in November, you could get Last of Us 2 just 5 months after its release for $30, $35. So, I mean, Sony first party titles fall pretty quickly. Like I'm not in a rush to get Miles Morales because I know the second I buy it, it'll be available for $30. So I will just, I'll wait.
It's true. I just had to throw that one up there because it
Yeah.
does still suck.
Yeah, and I think we did talk about it. It does suck, but I think largely just be a smart consumer, and you don't have to worry about it.
Mhm. And lastly, I think, God, I hope so. Nintendo's resurgence of limited time releases, not just one, but multiple from this year, actually.
Yeah, what the only there's only been a couple before, and they've been collections. So I think it's worth noting that these limited time things were collections. So people like to think about the Super Mario All Stars for the Wii, but that did get a re-release as like one of those budget titles. I think in 2012. But then there was the Kirby collection on the Wii, as well as the Metroid Prime collection on the Wii that were limited runs. And then, I mean, I remember that Metroid Prime collection was really hard to find for a long time until they re-released it on the Wii U, I think. But
Mm-hmm.
who has a Wii U other than me? So, uh, I think
It's not just collections this time, though,
this
because you
time, yeah,
got Mario 35, which is an okay game, but it seems like I have a feeling that trend is going to continue next year.
yeah. I think that once April hits, and we're gonna see what happens with Mario 3D All Stars, I think a lot of people's fears will subside because Fire Emblem is coming out as a ROM that you can purchase in the eShop. It's already out. I don't think that's limited. Correct me if I'm wrong, Charlie. It's just the physical
I'm
version.
not sure.
And I would not be surprised if Mario 3D All Stars receives a broken up release, maybe. I it's like right now, it's get it if you want it. If you don't, let's see what happens. I don't feel like I want to really get too concerned about it right now because I mean limited time releases do happen. So
Like you said, at the very least, I would expect them to resell it again if they discontinue it at some
yeah,
point. But
all Nintendo makes are
yeah,
evergreen titles. I mean, look at the way that Breath of the Wild still sells. Mario Kart is still the top seller on the Wii, with like one of the most insane attach rates in video game history. These are games that will sell forever, so it just seems insane to not have them available forever in some form.
it's true, but they seem to make a point of rebranding their online store with their history and back catalog every console. So it's not necessarily even that they won't be available forever, it's that it may not be the newest form or shop or whatever
Yeah,
that you have access to.
and I think
That's kind of
another
like one on the list, honestly.
yeah, I think another part of what makes this so stinging is it's also happening in the pandemic, where maybe someone can't scrounge together $60, that they're otherwise using for food or taking care of their family or keeping a roof over their heads. So I understand it from that angle as well. It's just bad timing.
For sure. So, what do you think of this incredible list? I would say.
I mean, honestly, looking at all of this, I think it's Cyberpunk because it
Okay.
I think uh, it probably soured their relationship with Sony and Microsoft, and I think the repercussions of them being taken off of the store and like Best Buy and all them changing their policies. I don't think that um, I think we're looking at a Mass Effect 3 type situation here, Charlie, in that people didn't like it, so something changed. And then all of a sudden that became the expectation. Was that if I don't like this thing about this game, you need to change it. Or if this game is really that bad, Best Buy needs to let me return it because they let me return Cyberpunk. So,
I mean, I would say that's a good expectation to have, and frankly, they should have that set up. Frankly, this is, I would almost say that's a good thing because I think Sony's policy on their store is terrible. Like
mm-hmm.
having to fight for a refund and you only really get one on your entire account. Like, what a complete joke.
Yeah. Just wait for the play
Um,
date, man.
True, and I'm sure that will come. I don't see this being changed like Mass Effect 3. I see there already being a big planning of DLC and expansions that they were gonna update it anyway,
Well, I
whether
guess
or not
I don't mean
criticism came.
I
But
don't mean Cyberpunk changing. I mean
other games, yeah,
no, I mean Sony and Microsoft. Maybe now the expectation be that they change their policies, or Best Buy change their
yeah,
policies, and
yeah. See, I see that as a good thing
yeah. Well, I think
from
Cyberpunk
consumer end.
has what happened with Cyberpunk. I think is going to have long lasting ramifications, and so I vote Cyberpunk.
Okay. I would say Ubisoft, which we didn't even talk about, but we talked about that a lot this year.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
um, a big part of the reason why I wanted to stop talking about the news because it was just Ubisoft. Someone was inappropriate at Ubisoft. Hey, another person was inappropriate at Ubisoft. Oh, this Ubisoft Montreal. Someone did something, and it was nonstop.
Yeah. It's
Major bummer of a company.
it is. And I would like to think that's not just because they're such a large company. I know this seems to be commonplace at other developers. Like I know I've heard was it Riot, the League of Legends team, has had similar harassment and
Yeah,
corporate culture
they had
issues.
that big walkout
Uh,
recently.
yeah. Um, yeah, Ubisoft just seemed particularly bad in how their management handled all that, on top of having a few other misgivings throughout the
Mm-hmm.
year, I would say. Um, yeah, I just not interested in buying anything from that company anytime soon. And I'm actually the one that would
Yeah,
out
you're
of
the
us, I
yeah
think.
you're the only one who plays Ubisoft games still. Yeah. Although I still
So
kind of want to play Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I'm not sure.
I can tell you if you want to see a Greek experience, there's a much better game to play.
Or I could just
But
watch my big fat Greek wedding.
there you go.
Yeah.
So that was a big mess. So let's move on to something lighter.
Okay.
Dumbest gaming device of
Right.
2020.
I know. I
So
in my head, I know exactly what I want to vote for.
okay, well,
I
we'll
don't. It
see.
may not be on the
I
list though.
think this is a hot contention
Okay.
this year. So there were a lot of missteps this year, a lot of odd releases. Let's just go through them. The Series X,
Okay.
eh, looks like a fridge. Whatever.
I think the dumbest thing about the Series X is that it won't fit in probably most people's media
That's
centers.
also true. PlayStation 5 looks kind of like a butt.
Yeah. I'm not looking forward to. Hey, Charlie, when you're watching a movie on it, does it still do the blue glow?
I have it hidden behind my TV, but
Okay.
I think so.
I don't like that.
Like it definitely has a glow all the way up that spine,
Uh-huh.
where the fins stick out. When it's in rest mode, it's kind of white. When it's booting up, it's blue. And um, I want to say when it's booting up certain games, it'll change color like that.
Hmm.
But yeah, I have it behind my TV because I don't need to have that blaring at me.
Yeah.
But, eh. Bud Light BL60.
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
The
What
one
can
that
this play?
has it's just a PC,
Oh,
so
okay.
anything that a mid-range PC could run, but it's got a built-in projector, space for two Bud Lights if you want to drink some piss, I guess.
Or any canned
Um,
beer, I guess.
that would fit in a Bud Light packaging. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazon Luna,
Oh man, I forgot
their
about
answer to
this.
exactly their
Yeah.
answer to Stadia. That it's not. I don't even know if it's a device necessarily. It's just a service,
I had actually
really.
signed up to be like one of the early users for this, and they sent me an email with like stuff to sign up for it, and then I just like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't particularly sound good to me. It's kind of like a subscription service of
Mm-hmm.
different channels of developers you could get. Like
Mm-hmm.
Ubisoft has their own separate subscription you would have to get in addition to the basic Luna package. Seems like not what people want in this day.
Yeah. It's streaming games just has such a tough road ahead of it.
For sure. The Atari VCS.
And what is
Yes,
this?
Atari. We talked about this earlier this year. It's just a updated PC that has like one Atari specific exclusive
Okay.
and can play other pieces. It's like an Ouya but Atari,
Oh
I
yikes.
guess is what I
Okay.
would say. And it's $400, I think. The KF console. So have you heard about this one?
I have,
Okay.
but tell me more about it.
So imagine that you want to play video games, but also eat chicken
Okay.
that's cooked to a mild degree.
Okay. I mean, that could be me at any given moment. So,
Okay. Well, then you're in luck because for only $2,000, you can get this mid-range size PC
no, unfortunately, the
that
stimulus
cooks
is over.
chicken.
No.
Well, you don't know. That might maybe there's debate. Maybe they'll send it back and you'll get another payment down the road. I'm sure Kentucky Fried Console would love to get your down payment and continued interest.
Yeah. I haven't had KFC in years, man.
My
Even
question
before the
is, how do
pandemic.
you can you sign up for a subscription service to continue getting the chicken? Like, are you really making use of it if you don't have the chicken? You got
Yeah.
to keep getting chicken.
And see, that I'm more interested in a chicken subscription service.
Hmm. Exactly.
Now, Charlie, I've still yet to see what I think is the dumbest gaming device show up on this list.
Well, that's interesting because that's everything I
It
get.
is.
So,
Okay, so I was
yeah.
gonna when you first put this, I was thinking it's a handheld device, Charlie, and it's got like a little
Mhm.
crank on it, and you play all your
Oh,
games
that's
using
not
that
yet.
little. It's not out yet. Okay.
That's this year, I
Well,
guess. It got
dumbest
delayed.
announced game device of
Yeah.
2020.
I mean, and to be honest, I don't think the KF console is actually out either. But
Okay.
okay, fair enough. I actually like that one though, even though it seems incredibly dumb.
Well, Charlie, that's because you would be down to play Crazy Taxi with the Dreamcast fishing pole.
Oh hell yeah!
So that's right up your alley for sure.
Mhm. Oh,
But
my
out
one's
of
the Atari. To be honest,
yeah, out of this, I'll say that as well because I think asking what $400 for something that plays what were those even 8-bit games at the time?
Well, so it is a PC with, I guess I'd say mid-range. I don't know the exact specs. So it can play other stuff, but it is primarily for Atari games.
Yeah. Nah.
It's more just that it's so bad that it's not dumb enough, like the KF console or the Bud Light, to actually be interesting. It's just
Yeah.
dumb.
I think by that
All right.
same criteria, I would say the Xbox Series X is right there with it. But biggest podcast mysteries.
Yeah,
Okay, so
that's true.
what is
Okay.
this category?
So we had a lot of, so we're getting down to the end here. We had a lot of unanswered questions and cliffhangers on this podcast over the year
Okay.
because guests are absent for many months. So this is unanswered questions, I guess you could say.
Okay.
So, well, to give an example, what board games was Stephen played? We never found out. That was quite a while ago. And,
Okay.
what did Drew think of Batman Arkham Origins? He's not been back on the podcast since
Right.
to talk about it.
Oh, okay. He was just
Maybe
started
we'll never
playing it,
know.
right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh
What happened
yeah.
to my place in Vermont
Your
that I went
bungalow
to?
over there. Yeah. What happened
Seems
to
like
it?
I'm back. Yeah.
You know, Vermont's got the lowest COVID infection rate, and so you might want to
Yeah.
think about
You
getting that place
know,
back.
maybe I'm remoting in. I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't want to talk about it. Will Bill Shirt ever unbutton all the way?
You know, now that we don't stream this show on Twitch anymore, we could do that. There's nothing on YouTube saying we can't.
Well, okay. Let's talk about the future direction of this
Yeah.
podcast. What happened to Mitch? Probably the biggest continuing mystery. Will Ken ever get to talk about Naruto Boruto?
Yeah, hey, this is something I would love to do. Some really interesting stuff has happened in Boruto. Are you still reading it?
I kept up with it.
You kept up with it? Okay. Even up to the most recent chapter?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some crazy stuff happening, and yeah, I love it. The anime is now finally out of its filler, from what I understand. So I need to, I want to see, because there's some cool fights, like when they fight that guy who was basically Cell. You know, I want to see how that gets animated, and there's some really cool stuff that's been happening in this story arc. So yeah.
Well, then I don't know if that's the biggest mystery, since it sounds like I might have it.
You know, there's a lot of spoiler casts I want to do now, Charlie. I want to do a Boruto one, although that I guess I want to be like largely Naruto. But I'm trying to read Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's just the episodic nature of the early chapters of that are just not exciting.
I read the first season 0 stuff, and that's about it.
Yeah, see, I want to skip straight to Duelist Kingdom because I think I'm not going to, because you should never skip stuff, but I just think the stuff is so boring. But not super fan of like episodic manga like that. Like Dr. Slump is without how much I love Dragon Ball, Charlie, I'm not a big Dr. Slump fan. So
Yeah. Okay.
and then of course I assume Billy is on his way to beating Yakuza 7, so I'd like to all three of us kind of discuss that, because we all come at that franchise with different backgrounds. So
Very true. Very true. Well, my vote would go to Bill Shirt, because you never know with that guy.
yeah. Yeah, let's say that. Yeah. But I would also like to know what Drew thought of Batman Arkham Origins.
Okay. Is there any other mystery you think I forgot? Unresolved discussion.
You know, I think the audience would wonder what stuff got cut out of some episodes. But no. I
That's
think
only because we keep talking about it.
I guess my biggest question is if in the Discord channel, if Billy sees us talking about, hey, should we do a podcast next episode? Yeah, sure, let's do it. Why is he planning to do other stuff than be on here? But hey, that's him. That's he would never make it to this far in the episode to know that we're questioning him on that. So he's not here to
You
defend himself. So go wild.
we talked about the hardships of getting next gen devices, man. You gotta prioritize the
I
NVIDIA card over everything.
Charlie, I almost guarantee you Billy already has a PS5, and he's just kept quiet about it. There is almost he
I don't believe
definitely
you.
he definitely has an Xbox Series S. Because he was like talking that up a while ago, and then I'm pretty sure he already has a PS5. If we were to go over to his place right now, there would be a PS5, 100%.
I I gave him his Christmas gift so a little bit ago, but I didn't get to pop in and look at his setup, so I don't know.
Yeah.
It's possible. Okay. Well, there you go. So we talked about bad news. Now we got good
Good
news.
news. Was there any in the year 2020, Charlie?
For gaming, at least. Yeah, gaming had a pretty good year, other than all that other shit that happened. um, I was probably the only one that partook in this, but Steam's been bringing back, in the absence of conventions, more weekend-esque conventions on their store page,
That's cool. That's cool.
where they'll release specific demos that you can only access for that week or however long, and doing broadcasts from all the developers, kind of thing.
I think demos are such a lost art that it's fun to see them kind of coming back in certain ways. Like I'm always looking at the Nintendo eShop store. What game has a demo? What game has a demo? And I'll just download it and play it. And there's a lot of stuff that doesn't have demos, and it's like, how do you want me to buy in without letting me? Anyways, so that's cool.
And I guess some people could see, looking at it from the traditional aspect of demos, that it's kind of annoying that it's only a limited time. Like you might not be able to do that, but I would say, in the spirit of a convention, that makes sense.
Oh yeah,
You wouldn't be able to have access to that anyway.
yeah, it's
So,
no different.
yeah, all the free games that were given away right at the start of the pandemic
Yeah,
because people wanted to build brand awareness.
yeah. What Sony gave away the Uncharted collection and something else, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
At least Uncharted, yeah. Square Enix gave away a couple of their mobile games, the Go series. There were a bunch of indie PC games that were given away. Just, yeah. If
Mm.
you were paying attention to game deals, yeah, you could get a decent amount of stuff.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that's a trend, but
No.
companies starting to offer free next gen upgrades. That's probably partially just due to platform policy, but
And even then, it was still pretty messy about who's doing it and who's not, and will your save data
yeah.
transfer? Yeah.
Mhm. But they tried.
Yeah.
Backwards compatibility on
Yeah.
consoles. It wasn't perfect, but it's better than it has been for last gen, for sure.
I think this is something that really delights me because I'm in the market for a PS5, but Charlie, there are no PS5 games on my radar right now. Not at the price that they're at. Like, I want to play Miles Morales, but not at $50 for what I understand is like 10 hours to platinum. So I'll still be playing primarily PS4 games on my PS5. And just to be able to do that, I think it is nice.
For sure. And a lot of them got upgrades too. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
really include that, but a lot of PS4 games have true 4K 60 instead of the more minor PS4 Pro checkerboard and not exactly 60 frame rates type stuff. So
Yeah.
definitely the best way to play a back catalog. DualSense controller. I know I'm the only one who can really speak on this, but
Yeah,
I
you and
think
Billy only.
this is huge.
Yeah.
You know,
I
I think this is huge, and I hope other controllers take advantage of its design.
the thing I am looking forward to most about getting the PS5 is the DualSense controller and Astro's Playroom. And so yeah, I can't wait because you've just had glowing reviews of it. It seems like everyone who's used it loves it. I still, I always talk about like the Call of Duty example with a rifle that locks up on you, and but it doesn't seem like that's how it's being used. So
So from what I've read, it does seem like developers are going to implement that feedback in at least in a third party sense, but it may not be as much maybe as you're hoping. Like I still think it's enough though, and it's still like a Rumble 2.0 that it's more finite and specific that
mhm.
it benefits for sure. Uh, but just it's just the best feeling controller in my opinion that I've held. So lots of positive stuff about that. And I think this is the last one. Accessibility options becoming more prominent.
Yeah, I mean it's I to that note, Charlie, I would also say that Last of Us 2, like, because obviously in 2020, you think accessibility, you can't not think about Last of Us 2. And I think that, like, the trophy list for that game, not having anything that's locked behind a difficulty
For
is
sure.
is great. And, uh, I'm sure maybe that upsets some people, but if you want to play that game in European Extreme, then just do it and play it how you want. But it's nice that to be able to get a sense of completion from a game, you don't have to because that's how I would look at the accessibility in my certain cases. I don't like to play frustratingly difficult games, right? And so to be able to play something and get a 100% completion out of it without having to, kill myself trying to play something, I can't even think of a really difficult game that I've played, but yeah.
Yeah, and I mean to that respect, they also let you filter like AI specifics of difficulty in terms of do you want the combat to be harder or like do you want more hits on puzzles or that type of thing. So it's not just making everything easier. It's you can filter it better to your taste is really where it's heading.
So Charlie, do you want to know what I would have put on this list? One thing
Sure.
would have been that the Yakuza series came to and is continuing to come to Xbox.
Okay.
And I come at this from the angle of, a lot of people like to get caught up in exclusives, right? And while I will always be someone who prefers the Sony console and the Sony marketplace over what Xbox offers, that more people can play this wonderful franchise is only a good thing. And that now they can play, or by March 25th of next year, Xbox owners will be able to play every Xbox owners and PC owners will be able to play every Yakuza game minus Judgment on their preferred console of choice, and minus Switch, of course. But I think that's wonderful, and especially because I mean, you've played Yakuza. It goes without saying that Yakuza is hella Japanese, and for it to be coming to a console that is almost a little Japanese phobic, I would say. Not that its gamers are, but you definitely don't see a lot of prominent Japanese games coming to Xbox like you do PlayStation or even Nintendo. So.
True. Very true.
But out of your choices, Charlie, I will say, I got to say native backwards compatibility.
It's a good one. Good one for sure. I'd probably go with uh, I'd probably go with the game festival demos
Mm-hmm.
just because that's something that might actually be a trend. I don't know if the next PlayStation after this is going to continue with backwards compatibility, but
Well, I was thinking
in
about
terms of longevity,
in terms of why I consider backwards compatibility is before the show I made a list of the games I'm most looking forward to next year that have already been announced. I mean, I'm sure Nintendo's got like 3 or 4 things that they'll announce 2 months ahead of time, and then they'll just come out. So I can't brace for those. But 2 of the things on my list here are PS4 games. So because once I get my PS4 is going in a different room, so that I don't have to, like right now, if I want to play any Metal Gear Solid title, I have to move my PS3 into another room to play it, and that's super annoying.
yeah,
So
okay.
another tie. God, Billy.
Yeah. Last
Uh-oh. Okay.
last one.
All right.
Hottest podcast conversation of the year.
How did you remember this without watching the past episodes?
I don't know. I don't remember some of these, to be honest. I wrote them
Okay.
down. I don't
Okay.
remember what they are.
All right, sure.
So we're going to see. Is it Bakugan or Beyblade?
Bakugan. Bakugan.
Doesn't matter.
I like Bakugan though. It's definitely Bakugan. Okay.
You know, I didn't spend a lot of time on this. Proofreading was not a priority in terms of a deadline,
Uh-huh.
but spent a good time talking on that without remembering which one it was. And I'm glad I didn't even bring that spot. What N64 games still hold up?
That was a great discussion that like we were trying to end the show and then we started talking about this. We went on another 30 minutes.
Hour.
Yeah.
Why are we still talking about Ubisoft?
The conversation that almost killed the show, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty hot.
Yeah, for sure.
Last of Us 2 launch had a few episodes on that one.
I think that was just so like we were all in disbelief. Well, you and I were in disbelief. Billy may have been in disbelief for different reasons, but what's up with Naruto's son? Yeah.
What's up with Naruto's son? But we still don't know because we haven't talked about it.
Yeah.
that one unaired conversation.
Yeah.
Actually, there's probably a couple.
There's a few.
Now that I'm thinking about it.
There's a few, yeah.
What is Tramp?
Yeah.
I think we figured that one out eventually.
Yeah.
You know.
I was right. I knew what it was.
Yeah.
Trap music, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Could
you play some for me right now?
No, man, we'll get taken. YouTube. I don't want to. I can't run. If I can't run ads on these episodes, then no one else can.
Fair. And lastly, Blu-ray drives on PC.
Don't get me started.
I don't even remember what this conversation was about, but I wrote it down somehow, so it must have been pretty hot.
It is the biggest scam of the century, is what Blu-ray drives on PC are. Because guess what, Charlie? It's just a CD drive. Once your license runs out for your software that was supposedly free forever, once that runs out, you basically have a pretty cool DVD drive in your computer.
Now you got to worry about a 4K license if you somehow installed a Blu-ray already.
Yeah, and you know what sucks is that if you have a Blu-ray, right, it could technically get to the point where let's go to like the extreme scenario, right? Let's say someone all of a sudden says no one can watch Talladega Nights on Blu-ray ever again. And so you try to put in Talladega Nights into your PS4, and guess what? There's an update has been run on your PS4 that refuses to recognize that Talladega Nights disc. That could happen. So even physical is not safe anymore. So that's all.
What can you do?
Mini rant, yeah. I don't think there's been a situation where that's happened ever, but the systems are in place for that to happen if need be. Like my PS4 won't recognize my copy of Star Trek Generations, so I had to use my
Hmm.
PS3. PS3 recognized it
Interesting.
just fine. It's weird. It's like you have to rebuild. It's like I had to do like a system restart or I don't know, whatever. It's crazy.
Hmm. Okay. Well, what do you think of these? Or is there something I missed?
I think
Oh, this is tough, man. This
I
is tough.
I think what N64 games still hold up because I think it was like it derailed the show in a good way. And
Okay.
we had a really
Okay.
fun, and it led to me playing Super Mario 64 again and becoming a member of the speedrun community.
Oh, that's true.
So,
I didn't even think about it that way.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. To be honest, I think I'm gonna have to go with the what is trap,
What is Trap? Okay. Do you
just
remember?
because I don't.
All right.
That's okay.
I have to go back and
But
re-listen
hey,
to whatever episode that was. I have no idea.
exactly. This is where we throw out the reminder to like and subscribe and rewatch all our old videos
Yeah,
to
for sure. Please
check
do.
out
Yeah.
these conversations that are oh so
Actually,
important.
please don't. Who knows what we said in those past episodes? We can only be held accountable for what we're saying right here, right now.
Good to know.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I got, man.
Okay.
The year in Mashcast.
Well, then, just real quick, what's your game of the year?
So I liked a lot of games. Like my top four would be pretty obvious, but
What's your top four?
I don't, I don't really want to do a list.
Okay.
Is what I'm getting at
Okay.
because I've kind of gotten to the point where I rather just have a discussion, kind of like what this was, of just a very specific thing that caters to what a game did well or
Okay.
whatever did well. But my favorite was definitely Hades, no question. That's I already talked about it, but it is incredible what a studio of that size was able to put out. And it was very noticeable when playing something like Yakuza, where they limited their budget in terms of like these side stories don't always have full voice acting, that
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing. And obviously, Hades also has a budget. It becomes apparent later on, but I played that game for like 90 hours and I don't think I've heard a single repeated line of dialogue and it's all voiced. It's it's one of the best in terms of writing for roguelike, no question.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just how those systems play off each other in terms of you'll use a specific weapon or you'll kill a character with a certain difficulty setting and they'll comment on that the next time if you change something. Um, it's just so many little things like Yakuza's funny, but this game has some Looney Tunes ass shit in it too.
Oh, very cool.
Man. And it's just like I was also trying to think about this, but in terms of moms in video games, I really couldn't think of anything beyond like Pokemon, which your mom's barely even in.
Mm-hmm.
But this game really made me think about having a consistent mother character in it really brings a different perspective that I appreciate a lot. And
Ooh.
just the way that sets up the story. Um, yeah, I love the story from that perspective makes it great. The cast, in my opinion, is the best of the year. The combat is pretty incredible. Not quite the best from what I played, but it's really good. There's so much content, so much variety in terms of the roguelike nature. Maybe not for some people compared to some other games, but for me, and I think for anyone who perhaps wants a more of a story hook or something to play a roguelike, it's the best way to get into roguelikes for sure.
Um, Mine is Yakuza 7. It was always going to be Yakuza 7. I don't think. Uh, I don't think. It was always going to be Yakuza 7. It was always going to be Yakuza 7. It was always going to be Yakuza 7. I don't think. Uh, Mine is Yakuza 7. Just, it was always going to be Yakuza 7. I don't think. It was always going to be Yakuza 7. anything else could have stood a chance. I love Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I loved Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, and I loved Dragon Ball Z Kakarot enough so much that I platinumed it twice this year.
Twice?
Yeah.
You can do that?
Well, I mean, I played it on PC the first time, and then
Oh, okay.
I platinumed
Whoa,
it
you
again.
bought it twice.
I bought it.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm currently working on the DLC for it, but it's yeah. I don't think I played a single game that I disliked this year. But I also played games I knew I was going to like, so.
It's true. There were a couple I was disappointed by, but there's nothing I hated.
I'm thinking next year, though, Charlie, I want to get into some games that maybe I want to branch out a little bit. And I don't want to give... Our next episode will be about what we're looking forward to in 2021, I think. So I don't want to give it all away, Charlie, but I want to... I think I'm going to get Resident Evil Village.
Right.
And it's going to scare the shit out of me. But I kind of, because at this point, Charlie, I've watched you play Resident Evil 7. I watched other streamers play those games. And to the point where it's like I know those games. And I think it's finally time that I get one for myself. Because the scary parts, like a streamer I was watching when Resident Evil 2 came out, the remake. And man, when I was captivated, and when Mr. X comes bursting through a door unexpectedly, and I screamed, I jumped, I threw the blanket up in the air. But it was funny, it was that moment of fright caused me to laugh. And
exactly. Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna get Resident Evil Village. Also, I think the setting is really cool, and it being like more fantasy based, I think is interesting. It'll probably end up just being another virus that's it'll probably be some dumb dark anthology twist where it was all in his mind or something. But yeah, so I'm gonna try to branch out a little bit next year.
All right.
So
sounds good to me.
So Hades and Yakuza 7, and Billy said, if Billy gave me a video, which he probably won't, I'll patch it in here. There was nothing. And so, yeah, those are our two nominees. Game of the Year, Billy said, as a joke, Microsoft Sudoku, something or others, but that's not going in the thumbnail, if you know what I mean, Charlie.
I believe him.
So... Well, Charlie, thank you for this presentation. This was awesome to have you put a lot of work into this and had to remember a lot of stuff.
I really didn't, but thanks.
It seems like you did, but great presentation, Charlie. You can't let people know that you're good at this stuff or you'll be expected to do it again. So may have been a colossal mistake. But, well,
oh no, I've set expectations.
Charlie, do you have any parting thoughts for us on this episode?
I wish we had a longer episode because there's plenty of good games discussions to have. But
yeah, this
is good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we are at like an hour and 45 minutes almost, Charlie. So.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
You're going long.
All right. Well, hey, thank you for joining us for our Game of the Year episode of the Mashcast. We'll be back soon. And we took kind of like, a 3-week break, but we'll be back soon to talk about games in 2021 that we're looking forward to. And then eventually some of us will have some new games that we'll be showing off. That's not a hint. I just assume that one of us will have something we'll be showing off here. So thanks for watching, and I'll do Billy's section here. Goodbye!